up, guys? It is Sam here, and I have an amazing Instagram ranking of the Democratic candidates that are running for president based on 4 separate factors. So, with that being said, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it's good to freaking see you. You'd better be pressing that subscribe button. So, what I did is I took each individual's candidate's profile from Instagram and I put it into Social Blade. Social Blade tracks different social profiles and different statistics around each profile. So I took 4 factors and I stacked ranked the candidates on each one of these 4 factors, like 1 through 11, to see who had the best in each one of these 4 factors before taking an average. And we're going to get down to the breakdown of that average in a moment. But the 4 factors first were the engagement rate. Now, the engagement rate is only based upon the last 20 posts. So that would be like the number of likes and the number of comments. But they don't give you the exact breakdown of how that's calculated. The next is the total media production in 1 month. So this is the total amount of work that's getting put in on a platform. Because if I go to every single house in this neighborhood and all the businesses in town, and I knock on their door and I just introduce myself and talk about what I'm doing, I'm gonna know more people. And the same thing happens if you go to Instagram and you post more frequently. People are gonna know you more because your shit's fucking out there. Right? The next is the total number of followers over the last 30 days that each account has gained. And then the growth rate in followers over the past 30 days. And I took all that together to come up with the top 5 candidates. Andrew Yang, Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, and Amy is tied with Pete Buttigieg. And this is kind of interesting because I wouldn't expect Joe to be in the top, honestly, on Instagram. I wouldn't expect some of the other, like Tom Steyer, I wouldn't expect him to be up there. Michael Bloomberg, wouldn't expect him to be up there. And everybody else is not super. Elizabeth Warren, I wouldn't expect to be up there. Although, I might have expected her to be maybe in the same realm of Amy, because she's just got so much more relevance than everybody. But let's dive into the numbers. So this is our second ranking on Instagram where we took a look at these 4 factors. So let's take a look at these factors, and then I wanted to look at the macro data. So we have only 3 here who are above 30,000. In terms of the number of increase in followers over the past 30 days. Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and Andrew Yang. Interestingly, if we look back at a month ago when we did the rankings, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren both lost steam. Bernie had like 100,000 followers 30 days ago that he gained. Now he's at 87. So he's still gaining way more than Andrew Yang, but his steam is coming down. The momentum is coming down. Same thing with Elizabeth Warren. I think she was at 38,000 that she had gained, and now she's at 33, so hers has come down slightly. Andrew Yang's has gone up, which is kind of interesting. Joe Biden's has also gone up. I just made a whole video on that if you want to go check out the channel. The growth rate is also, we've got the top 3 people are Tom Steyer and Amy Klobuchar, 2 people you wouldn't expect to be in the top 3. At all, because they're just not super relevant yet, or maybe ever. But they are in terms of the growth rates. But that doesn't necessarily mean. I mean, if you have 1 million subscribers or followers on Instagram, right, and I have 10,000, if I get another 10,000, I'm growing at 200%. What are you growing at? But if you get 10,000, you're barely growing, right? So that is part of this, right? Amy Klobuchar and Tom Steyer are both not as relevant, meaning they don't have as many people paying attention to them. So their growth rates can be higher, even though, like, look at the total number of followers they've gained over the last 30 days, right? So that's why we have both of these factors, because both of them do tell interesting stories, but prudently, if you're trying to understand what's happening with the data, you want to take a look at both. Total media production. We have 3 people who are over 100 here, meaning they're producing over 100 pieces of content for YouTube. I do not know if this includes stories, but I did take a deep dive on theirs, on everybody's, Instagram a while back if you want to check out the channel on that, where we actually took a look to see what they were using or how they were utilizing Instagram to try to understand where some of the successful traits, who has successful traits and what are they doing. But we can see that if, again, like going around in the neighborhood, if you're just out there more, you're going to get a higher growth rate, right? And we can see that the engagement on the last 20 posts, so this is only 20 posts, for number 1 is Pete, number 2 is Andrew Yang, and number 3 is Tulsi Gabbard. Kind of interesting, because those are the ones I feel like you hear a decent amount about. Plus, Bernie is substantially larger than everybody else. Look, he's gained almost double what everybody else, not quite double, but like he's gained a substantial amount more than the next closest person, which is Andrew Yang. So I would at least think just the law of large numbers, as that's going to go up, that's going to get the engagement rate's probably going to continue to stay there or come down, unless like other candidates drop away or he said something to somebody. You might be at that saturation point of engagement, unless you can really invigorate your audience with Bernie, because his audience is so substantial. But let's take a look here now from what happened in the beginning of the month of December up until where we're at now, and see how the ranking has actually changed. So we see right here, Pete lost 2 spots. Not good, Petey boy. Amy gained 2. Yang gained 3 spots from 4th to 1st. Amazing. Amy gained 2 spots. Bernie lost a spot. So this is like the 3rd or 4th spot ranking that we do. We do the national rankings based on the Google search volume and the YouTube search volume if you want to check out the channel. Also, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are down below. If you use the hashtag Stolt, then we can get into the Q&A, just like we're going to do at the end of this section, where I can search on YouTube for the hashtag Stolt and pull up your question and we can talk about it. Joe Biden moved up 2 spots. That'll be interesting to see if this continues with Joe Biden. So it looks like everybody's moving up changing about 2 spots, except Andrew Yang, right? We have 2 spots. Let's see here. We have got this minus that. We've got 2 spots, I think, for everybody, except for the T's account. Yeah. So basically, Andrew Yang had the most momentum improvement from one month to the next, based upon the overall change there. And I'd like to know what your thoughts are down below. You can use the hashtag, just like Star Trek Theory did. And this is in reference to the Michael Bloomberg and the Hawkfish LLC tech company that he started, according to CNBC, the secretive tech startup company. We did a little bit of a deep dive onto that if you want to check out the channel. They accident people who look into this stuff. Oh, so if you don't see any more videos, we went into a really deep dive of how like the money moves around and that kind of thing, and this is what Star Trek is actually referencing. So he means by accident, like they just get rid of the person who is actually speaking out. You might ditch the Tesla with those computers and get a 69 Charger. So basically saying just run. Sup. A big unknown saying, brother. So it's interesting. We found with Bloomberg, he's got this company that he's recruiting for from his campaign website. There's links and all this stuff, and he's using that as like a marketing tool in terms of media production and probably media spend in terms of paid media. Because if you looked at all LinkedIn profiles, a lot of those people are in like advertising or creative or production of some sort, and then there's some in media and paid media distribution, which would just be like buying ads. So it sounds like, based upon the backgrounds of the people on LinkedIn, that it's a media company, right? Essentially, because they're creating media, some type, whether it's like the traditional sense, but now we want to influence something. So there's a specific agenda to the media that's created, because they're fucking ads, right? It's not trying to get across the truth, like say in this kind of thing. They're trying to influence somebody in an ad. So they'll create an ad telling a story or messaging of some sort, and then they'll put it out there. So it's interesting to see how all of this ties together, because there's a lot of stuff that you don't know if it's like shady or not that's happening when you take a look at that, because he also contributed to this lady who Nancy Guy's campaign, and he said in like a fundraising type thing that he was like, oh, and we essentially, it sounded like he was bragging about getting her elected, and through the use of money, and I don't know if that was in the sense that like the capital, but it's complicated because you, to be a super PAC, you're not supposed to have direct communication with federal candidates. So if you are having this candidate comes into the fundraiser thing or diner or whatever it was press conference with him, and if you look at the donations from her, they come from this Beyond Carbon company organization that's trying to make push the green initiative, or like environmental friendly initiatives, kind of thing. And she gets the donation from them. But if you look at the details of it, it's like it's interesting because the organization paid more than like could be, right? Because this company's talking about working with the company on their LinkedIn profile actually talks about working with candidates in Virginia, right? So the Hawkfish company says that we work with Virginia people. Biden brings her in and says that he basically was bragging about it, essentially, how he was able to flip them from Republican to Democrat, and used the organization's money to fund it, right? I don't know. I think it should be more like there should be more light and dialogue around what's actually happening, because some of this stuff is a little bit more nuanced. The next question is or comment is from Russ. What's good, Russ? How you doing, man? I hope your holiday was awesome. I really like big numbers, just like dollars in games. It costs nothing to fake big numbers, and then everyone plays the TikTok game and China collects the data. I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but to the attention is the leading indicator for where dollars go. And when you have that much, and this is in reference to a TikTok, why Andrew Yang should be on TikTok. There's a ridiculous amount of attention on TikTok. There's no competition. Nobody else is doing it. The exposure is like 10x any other platform. There's the generation that's most influential, Gen Z, spends a lot of time on there. And any campaign, whether it's Yang or some other campaign, you want to like tell them to do this, it will work. Start putting out content on there. And I think Russ thinks that like China's collecting data by his comment or whatever. And like everybody's collecting data. I think that like that's what they used to say about YouTube. Like people on fucking YouTube, the avatars. That's what they used to say about Facebook. That's what they used to say about MySpace. I'm not concerned, even the slightest. Personally, to each their own. Like, if you feel that way, like, don't do it then, right? Like, if you think China's collecting data and you think that's going to compromise the way you live your life in some capacity, then don't do it. I don't buy into that stuff. I think it's more so, like, put forth from the propaganda of, like, potentially Facebook, right? Like, if you're the biggest competitor to me, that I've been able to even like it's come on the market in the last 10 years, and you are growing much faster than I am, and you are from another country, what do you think I'm going to say? Like, it just makes, like, duh, Facebook is going to say it's a fucking security threat. You know what I mean? It's just like common sense. It's not even like, you know what I mean? It's to think that, you know what I mean? Like, and then everybody believes that it's true. I don't know. I just see the other side of it, right? I see the biggest competitor to them realizing that, like, oh, fuck. We tried to buy Musical.ly. We couldn't. A different company bought Musical.ly. They're growing substantially faster than us. My thoughts. The next is also from Russ. What's good? 2 comments, Russ. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Hey, Sam. How can you know that people you are getting tons of views instead of Chinese bots to collect data on U.S. citizens? Sounds too good to be true. The numbers are ridiculous. All the kids playing today will become the leaders of tomorrow. Seems dangerous to me. Yeah, I think trying new things is dangerous to a lot of people. it doesn't. So what you said about Chinese bots is similar to like the first comment here, where that's what people used to say about YouTube. That's what people used to say about Facebook. That's what people say about anything until they get on it themselves and they play with it and they understand how it works. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I like if you have a company within your country and that company doesn't like have anything specific saying that they're not going to give data to the government, they might be giving data to the government. Okay, whoop de freaking do. I don't personally care. For me, it doesn't matter to me. Like if that were true, as we just talked about, I think there's another incentive there. It's Facebook, right? And any other tech companies like Snapchat or basically that's the only other one I can think of because all the rest of them are controlled by Facebook. The YouTube or Google or Apple or any of these companies might say these things because if it poses a threat to their business model, they're going to have an incentive to do so and make it look like you're looking out for the best interest of the country. I don't know. I just think that the media and everybody likes to push it like, oh, it's just a Chinese company that's going to take all of our data. But it's too big. It could be too big of like a rabbit that's already out with the number of users on it, where if it were to be like, hey, Google, you can't have this in the App Store, people would figure out a different way to get on there because there's so many. My phone just went off because I said Google. There's so many people on the platform. I could see something like that happening, or it going like in the other way where like it just continues to dominate, and as it gets bigger and bigger, it's going to be harder and harder for anybody to try to control something like that. I mean, the one of the executives already mentions having like 500 million to 1 billion active monthly users, and he said it's closer to 1 billion than it is 500 million, but he wouldn't give the data. So basically, that 750 million to 1 billion is the amount of active monthly users. It's a lot, dude. And they actually use what Google uses with YouTube and Google in the sense how they are using it to display the TikToks people are posting, in the sense that it's more of a discovery platform in the sense right now than a social platform, if that makes sense. And it shifts because when it's a discovery platform and you have the incentives the other way, where like Facebook wants to take through ads, right? They know the attention's there, so they're like, okay, well, we're just not going to give you any exposure, right? We're just not going to give you any exposure at all unless you pay for it, right? That's Facebook and Instagram and that's just cool. That's where they like have the right to do that. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But when you shift it and you can have that social aspect a little bit more, but have the discovery. So instead of trying to limit people, you're trying to actually get people discovered through like YouTube or Google, where you give like more of an opportunity for this kind of stuff. Plus, then you also have a bunch of people actually don't produce a lot of content, and those people maybe migrated before other people to this platform. So there's a boatload of attention there because people just thought it was fun, but there wasn't anybody trying to scale on the platform. So the amount of exposure is what you're referencing when you say it sounds too good to be true, because it is. There's not that many people there yet. When you first got on YouTube, it was easy to get attention. There was nobody else there. This app has been available outside of China since 2017. So 3 years, right? And just turned to 2020. So not very long at all. I think that this is going to continue its upward trend. Like before the end of this week, this TikTok is going to be bigger than YouTube, bigger than Instagram. I mean, in terms of views, it's already way bigger than any other platform. In terms of subscribers versus like followers on Instagram or YouTube, TikTok's going to blow past those numbers for me this week at some point. Anyways, I appreciate so much the comment, Ross. Thank you. I hope you had an awesome, awesome New Year's. Let me know when you're going to be doing your traveling across the country. And I will talk to you guys later. Peace.